Hi guys, Garage RC here, back with another video. So today's video is all about the SZ2. This is a car I've been super excited about, and I received it pretty quickly. I've had a good play around with it. I've taken it out on my big track when I hire out a haul, and lots of things to talk about here. Bit of housekeeping first, guys. It's been a little while since I made a video. I've been very busy with lots of things going on in real life as opposed to mini RC life. So this isn't my main business. This is a hobby. I know I sell the cars, but it's really just to provide a service so that the hobby can grow. And as a lot of you other dealers out there know, mini RC is not the most profitable of things, and I have a main business that makes me a lot more money, and that needed my attention. So that's why I've been away for a little while. Also, I've been busy doing things to my home. I've had a full solar installation with a battery so that I can run pretty much without mains electricity, which has been pretty exciting. And to go in line with the hobby, I've actually purchased a Tesla Model 3. All these things have happened over the last 3 months and have kept me pretty busy. So I'm hoping now I'll be able to make more videos and get back up to date with everything. I've had lots of messages and questions. I've tried to answer them, but guys, I've got a life outside of mini RC which sometimes takes priority. Anyway, moving on. So I'm very fortunate to have the SZ Model 1, which, as a lot of you probably remember, when I first started YouTube videos, it used to be run as a drift car. It was a green Lamborghini, and it was absolutely spectacular as a drift car. So this car has kind of been sat on the shelf because I never got around to fully tuning it as a race car. I always loved the way it worked. I always thought it had very smooth diffs, smooth drivetrain. It had a very special offset drive shaft which was not quite centered to stop torque steer, and it was a pretty special setup. The car was quite expensive out of the box, but it came with a lot of good aluminium parts. The aluminium servo horn there is actually offset and brilliant and gives this car one of the best turning angles, which also makes it a good drift all-wheel drive drift car. This one's fully spec'd up with a, I think, an atomic motor, 8,000 kV, 8,800 kV, atomic brushless sensored speed controller, and yeah, I mean, I love this car a lot. It is superb. Never quite got it right, although I've recently started tuning it up, and yes, it does handle really well and still is very smooth. So yeah, SZ1 I did love. Never fully gave it the time I should have done, but I was always waiting for the next level up. So I was super excited when Atomic were going to release the SZ2. I got one straight away, and this is my SZ2 here. The bumpers you see here are to do with the Geo Racing bodies, which are absolutely brilliant bodies for racing with because they're quite wide and they give plenty of space for steering clearance, especially when you go with a wider offset. So the SZ2, main differences in the actual layout of the car is the servos mounted lower, and underneath you can see the servo horn points downwards as opposed to upwards on the old car. So that gives it a much lower centre of gravity. The gearbox layouts are pretty similar from new to the old, and they're both beautiful. The suspension setup is pretty similar, as you can see. I'll try and center these cars and zoom in on both of them so you get a better view. The main difference on the drivetrain on this beauty is the center differential. So not only do you have a front and rear diff, which you can adjust, you also have a center diff. Absolutely amazing. The car itself, the build was wonderful. Drive wise, out of the box, it was much easier to drive than the SZ1, and this is a point that a lot of people have recommended, and I've played around with myself. The tires make all the difference depending on the size of track you're running and the speed of the motor you're running, how tight the corners are. All these things make a difference. Certainly, if I run the marker tires, which are slicks, I'll put in the description or in a tab below exactly which tires I've been recommended by other guys out there on the groups. and thank you for that, guys, for all your help. The marker tyres I find sometimes give me a lovely kind of almost slightly slip on the corners feel, almost like you could slide. This stops cars spinning out and gives a kind of controllability and almost a forgiving nature. The treaded tyres, these are Kyosho treaded tyres, give you rail-like performance. And if you get the combination right, which, forgive me if I've forgotten, I think I had rear, the compound was 20% or 20 and the front was 30. I'll double check that, but I think that's what I've got running on my Mini Z Evo cars. Makes the car run on rails, but if you're too aggressive with the throttle and your motor is too powerful, it's easy to flip the car. Also depends on the offsets you've got. Okay, so the SZ2 comes with its own wheels, so the wheels actually provided with the car, which is fantastic. And overall, the build was pretty straightforward and easy. The weird thing with this car is you have to have quite a large pinion, and that's the way the gearing is set up. I've got a 5,500 kV motor on this, which is still probably too powerful. I had to turn down the throttle to about 60%. On the larger track, certainly this car can go. I mean, I don't think my big track is big enough really to get the full potential of this car, but absolutely rapid, controllable. Some of the sharp corners, I think, comes down to your tyre setup if you're going to make it round at a certain speed without flipping. The overall build quality is great. I love the car. I've got the anti-roll bar fitted here, which I bought with the car so I could build it in straight away. This gives you little aluminium arms instead of the plastic ones. Now, the main competitor for this car is going to be the GLA. Now, you guys all know how much I love the GLA. I think it's a great drift and race car. And this one here I've got is pretty well spec'd up. I'm going to move the SZ1 to one side now. And this one, I've got pretty much everything on it. Alloy, the aluminium knuckles, rear aluminium knuckles, hubs. The suspension has all been tuned up. I've got the titanium gear servo, the larger one, full censored setup. Interesting, I'm using the same censored setup on the SZ here, and that was just to keep things comparable. I think I ran this with my Sandra M17, and I run this one with my NB4. I'll double check that. The only reason I do that is so I can run both at the same time if someone else is racing with me. Yeah, in terms of, raceability, these cars are pretty equal. But one thing I will point out straight away that I found a big difference with is the durability of the GLA. Now, that might be because I've got all aluminium parts already installed, and obviously I've got the wider flat chassis on this car. But there are certain things about the SZ which I'm sure they will iron out. It's its first run. I haven't got all the aluminium parts for it, but one of my pet hates is the rear pin setup for the hub. And you can see here the pin is already moving forward. I've got these screws screwed in tight, but yet during the racing, after about 30 laps, the pin came out, wheel came off, drive shafts all over the place. So yes, things like that, if they can be fixed, better parts, happy days. The SZ comes, I think, with a standard 3-degree rear toe in. I prefer a more 0-degree rear toe. That's just my preference. But as time goes on and I play around with the cars more, I might find I like that, I might not. So my impressions so far: SZ2, fantastic car. Center diff, brilliant idea. It gives it almost like a rear wheel drive feel when you're steering around tight corners, but on the straight you've got the all-wheel drive benefits. That is something pretty good. Now, you can achieve a similar thing on the GLA by obviously either tightening or loosening your front diffs. Also, another one of our friends off Facebook made a very nice suggestion of using different gearing at the front to the rear, almost like a CS drift kind of setup, but very mild, where your rear wheels maybe turn a little bit more than the front, and that also gives you that kind of feel. Now, I'm going to play around with these cars quite a lot, but Yes, I love the SZ2. I think it's a brilliant design. I love the center diff. I love the layout. As you can see, I'm using a Geo Racing battery pack here. It just about squeezes in. I really could do with putting a couple of washers under here just to lift it up so I don't break it. But how do I feel about the overall setup of the car? I think it's pretty good out of the box. Some reports of these plastic knuckles having problems. I've got the aluminium ones ready to fit. Once I get those on board, I think a more fair comparison will be when I have got maybe both cars equally set up. So I've got aluminium rear hubs and front hubs, things like that. One criticism I've got off the SZ2, and I don't blame Atomic for doing this, but only their servos fit really. I tried fitting my titanium gear servo from the Geo Racing. Because of this specifically sized horn and the fitting for the horn, you can't really use it. I know some users who've used the metal chassis base plate have had difficulty getting the clearance right for the servo on location. I've not experienced that, but once I get a chance, I will try and upgrade my chassis to metal base brass base plate on the GLA, and same for the SZ2. I've got footage of both these cars running around the big track. I have to say, it's only when I got home and I set my smaller track back up, which had been actually dismantled during the solar installation at home, that I really started to play around with the setting and the tyres and started to hit the sweet spot. But overall, if you ask me, it's a very beautiful car. And if Atomic would like me to sell these in the UK, please get in touch. I am not an Atomic dealer at the moment, but more than happy to help make things easier for the enthusiasts over here to get hold of these cars. Overall impression, guys, I loved it. I love my GLA. I love the SZ2. They handle differently. They've both got their plus and negative traits, but there is a new thing coming to the mix. Geo Racing have released a 102mm and a 98mm. I think it's called the Gila, and it's the newer version of the GLA. I haven't got it yet, just because I've been too busy, but once I do, that will be the ultimate match. I'll leave you with some footage today of both cars running. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll hopefully be making more videos a lot more often and getting back into the hobby. So guys, if you like the video, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all next time. Wow, that's actually very fast. Okay, well, I'll put any shit with story.
7.2 seconds, I think, fastest.
I'm sure you got the fastest car. Not really used to driving it yet.
I might get a 6 then, really. Easy. Brake harder. Looks smooth though.
The brake earlier.
Yeah.
Brake harder on the straight.
Almost a 6.